Now I found out why DJI released the DJI Nano recently at this cheap price. This is the cheapest camera in the market now. This is the cheapest action camera in the market. And I've been thinking also about the probable 1-inch sensor for the upcoming Action 6. So I made a list of pros and cons of having a 1-inch sensor on the new upcoming camera from DJI and my thoughts about this topic. So let's go down to the studio and talk about that. Hello there and welcome back to my channel. Yesterday I posted a video about the latest leaks and rumors concerning the new upcoming products from DJI, and I've been thinking about this topic for quite a lot since I posted that video, and I came out with some ideas, some pros and cons concerning having a 1-inch sensor on the upcoming Action 6 from DJI. And when I was thinking about that, I got maybe the perfect idea or the perfect reason why DJI released this Osmo Nano here, this tiny little camera at this price range. So I'm going to use one single camera to record this video, maybe some b-rolls later on, but the main talking head shots will be with this new Sony FX30. This is my new camera that I bought during the Paris Photo Fair, and I'll be using this camera only for my talking headshots. Let us start. We've been asking a lot about a 1-inch sensor on action cameras, and we didn't have that yet. Insta360 made some 1-inch cameras back in the years. These cameras were not a huge success, so they kept that idea on the shelf, and now we are waiting for something new that might be a 1-inch sensor. So I wrote down, as I said, some ideas of having a 1-inch sensor. For example, a 1-inch sensor has a larger surface area. That means that we have a larger pixel size, and that will be a good camera in low light performances. We will have less noise in the shadows and this stuff. So having a 1-inch sensor will improve the image quality, the overall image quality, especially if we are shooting in low light conditions. Having a 1-inch sensor will improve the dynamic range of the camera. That means we won't have the same amount of clips in the highlights and in the shadows. We will have more flexibility to work with these areas compared to 1/1.3-inch sensor, for example. We will have more resolution, which is basically very normal. Increasing the sensor size, we will have more pixels, or we can add more pixels in it, so the resolution will be better, so we can have better stabilization in terms of digital stabilization. Here I'm talking about that. And this is something very interesting for action cameras, to have great stabilization. Now we have amazing stabilization on all action cameras, let's be honest. So this is not a perfect idea, or this is not the main reason to increase the sensor size, but I have to mention that. We will have better detail retention in challenging lighting, so this comes with the low light performances as well, in the shade, in overcast days, in this stuff. So we will have better detail retention because we will have bigger pixels and more pixels on the sensor size, so that will be very helpful for that. We will have, so overall, better image quality, whether for stills or for videos. We see that with the Canon PowerShot V1, the image quality is quite interesting. The Sony ZV-1, whether Mark 1 or Mark 2, the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. So we have a serious increase in image quality with a 1-inch sensor compared to smaller sensor size. So these are the 5 main reasons, or the 5 main pros to have a 1-inch sensor on action cameras. But we have much more cons than pros, trust me. Let me start. First, we have to think about the size and the weight. So the camera will be a little bit bulkier, a little bit heavier, or bigger. So we don't have any idea about the dimension of the new camera. We have the width, the length, but we don't have the thickness or the depth of the camera. So this might be a little bit deeper or a little bit thicker than the Action 5. That's why the other brand that contacted me to make content for them with the Action 6, they said we created products, accessories, they are specifically made for the Action 6. So this is gonna be something to keep in mind. So if you want to have a waterproof camera, a rugged shell, so the camera with a 1-inch sensor might be a little bit bigger and heavier. But these are just my thoughts. We have the lens design and cost. Because we have a bigger sensor, the lens should have low distortion, good optics, edge, corners, and center. That will add cost to the manufacturer, and the product will be a little bit more expensive in my opinion. And because we want a wide FOV, so they have to be careful with the lens choice and with the vignetting on the corners and this stuff. So it's an action camera, we need a wide FOV, so it's not a tight shot, it's not just like a 20mm lens, it should be wider. So we have to be careful about the edges, and this is very challenging. With a bigger sensor, we have a shallower depth of field, and that's something very well known, and we will have some focus. The focus distance will be a big issue in this kind of sensors, because having a 1-inch sensor with a shallower depth of field is not something nice on action cameras, where we need something like a whole range of the image in focus. So having just a small part of the image in focus, this is not something appealing for action cameras once again. So this is why I think this is a con of having a 1-inch sensor on an action camera, especially that we will not have the autofocus, so the camera will not focus automatically, because this is an action camera and the focus should be fixed at a certain distance. So they have to very well calculate the hyperfocal distance, the lens choice, the focal length, and these stuff. So these are really challenging in this matter. Okay, so what else I wrote here? Okay, a 1-inch sensor will consume much more power, which is very normal. A bigger sensor will require more power to run. It will heat more, so they have to work the heat dissipation. That means that the camera can be bulkier in order to add some heat dissipators inside of the camera in order to dissipate the heat and avoid all those overheating issues on the camera. So this is something to keep in mind. Of course, a 1-inch sensor with a dedicated system to avoid overheating, that will cost a little bit more. And of course, a 1-inch sensor will store much more data, means more storage cost. So maybe we will have internal storage in the camera, but that means that the files will be bigger than the files of the Action 5 Pro. So here are my thoughts, or the pros and cons that I found concerning having a 1-inch sensor on an action camera. So what I really think about this topic is that we saw that the battery of the Action 6 will remain the same as the Action 5 Pro. That means that we won't have an increase in the battery size. Maybe we won't have a 1-inch sensor, or maybe we'll have a 1-inch sensor, but the battery lifetime will be shorter than what we have on the Action 5. So this is something to keep in mind, or something that I thought about. I'm quite sure we will have 8K 30 frames per second on this new camera. I'm quite sure that we will have that zoom that we have on the Insta360 cameras, that like clear zoom, clear image zoom on this camera, just like the Osmo Pocket 3, by the way. They copied that from the Insta360, and I'm quite sure that we will have that. I'm quite sure we will have internal storage, because now they seem to add this to all their new cameras. But I'm also quite sure that they will not increase a lot the price, because otherwise they cannot compete in the market. And that brings me to the idea why they made this camera. It shares exactly the same sensor size of the Action 5 Pro for a reason. They released this one about a year after the release of the Action 5 Pro, to just make place for an Action 6 with 1-inch sensor. So I was hoping to have the Action 6 at a lower price, but then I was thinking that this camera came out recently. So I think DJI are making this step to tell the consumers that if you want a small camera, a budget-friendly camera, you can get the DJI Nano. But if you want a higher quality, you have to pay a little bit more. It's going to be a little bit bulkier. Then you have to go with the Action 6. That will be a 1-inch sensor, and it will have like maybe narrower field of view. So it will not have the same field of view that we have on this DJI Nano or the DJI Action 5 Pro, because they can say we have those cameras. If you want a wider field of view, you can get those. But if you want just the image quality, and if you want a camera that can be focused to vlog, to do some travel photography, some travel videos, some travel content creation and this stuff, you can go with the Action 6 without issues at all. So this one is not a replacing camera to the Action 5. It's not a camera to break the sales for the Action 6. I think this camera is not to be competing with the Go Ultra. They made this one to be a complementary camera for the Action 6, in my honest opinion. So they will provide you with two cameras, one small, cheap, and budget friendly, and you can use it everywhere, wide field of view and this stuff. The other one, it's gonna be a little bit bulkier, a little bit heavier, more expensive, narrower field of view, and of course narrower depth of field because we have a 1-inch sensor. So yeah, they will give us this option, in my opinion. I'm quite interested to see your thoughts about this topic according to what I said in this video. Let me know if you agree with me or not. These are only my thoughts and my own thoughts. I didn't have any input from DJI or any person working at DJI concerning this topic. This is, once again, what I think that will happen in 2 weeks when the DJI will release the Action 6. So that's it for today. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, don't forget to hit like, to subscribe, to ring the bell. That's a massive help for me, for my channel. And of course, I have some affiliate links down below. If you are interested in this DJI Nano or the DJI Action 5 Pro, I have my affiliate links down below. Feel free to check them. Thank you for watching, and ciao for now.